The watch that I will show you in this review is certain to surprise you. From the use of 904L steel, the same blend Rolex uses, to its true GMT movement, to the nationality of the company manufacturing it. Because this is indeed the first watch that I review that is made in the beautiful country of Thailand. I have been looking for a watch with the Miyota 9075 true GMT movement for ages now. So when the opportunity came to review the Wise Damascus 80X with this movement, I jumped on it. Because this is what we do on this channel, we review affordable yet extremely high quality watches, so don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so and if that is the sort of thing that interests you. But at $720, this watch comes significantly more expensive than the usual kind of stuff that I review. And what's more, coming from a brand that is not extremely well known by the public and not even that well by watch enthusiasts. Certainly this 80X has some major arguments going for itself, but is it really good, as in $720 good? Well, let's find out right away. Just to be clear, Wise are sponsoring this review in exchange for my honest opinion and a link to this watch, but that doesn't give them a pass, and the watch will be going through the classic positives and negatives section, and I have much to say on both of them. As I mentioned the relative unknown status of the brand, let's start by establishing who they are. Wise was founded in 2008, which is ancient when we are talking microbrands. They have a very unique brand DNA, which spans dress watches, dive watches, some made out of exotic materials such as Damascus steel, meteorite, etc. Their best-selling watch, the Damascus Goldfield, has a Goldfield Thai stylized dial, but they have many others that look very interesting, ranging from the $400 to around the $1,000 mark. So this is clearly a brand that is positioning itself rather on the mid-market against major competition such as Tissot and the SEIKO Prospect range. So can these Damascus compete against those? Well, to give you one element of reference, I'm going to start by something I almost never show you: the packaging. The pretty large box is made of mango wood, which is both classy and exotic. Nothing really too refined though, like what you get from an Omega wooden box, for example. The inside is covered in black felt, and when you remove the box, you get access to a compartment where you'll find a warranty card, a very refined mini screwdriver, and even some Loctite. That is great attention to detail. But the packaging doesn't make the watch, so let's focus on that instead. Looks-wise, it has clearly a classic GMT appearance, besides from some very interesting idiosyncrasies that distinguish it from, let's say, a Rolex GMT Master. I chose a version with the golden facets and black-brown bezel insert, but there are many more to choose from, including the classic Batman. Just like the Rolex, it's made out of 904L stainless steel, which Rolex cheekily calls oyster steel. This blend gives a different, richer shine than the 316L and clearly plays to elevate this watch aesthetically. The dimensions of the watch are pretty classic at 40mm in diameter, with only 12.5 in height, 47.4 in log-to-log, and exactly the same measurement end-link to end-link, even though these are male links. The log width is a classic 20mm, and the bracelet therefore goes from 20 to 18, so not a lot of taper there. Regardless, the watch sits very well on my small to average 6 3/4 inch wrist, and it will wear well on any wrist from, I would say, 6 1/4 to 8 inch. The dial is a charcoal sunburst divided in two parts by the 24-hour counter. It's a quite peculiar placement for it, but it works here, although it leads to a shorter GMT hand. On the inner circle's upper part is printed the brand and model name. At the bottom there are 3 lines of text mentioning the fact that this is a GMT automatic and that it has 200 meters of water resistance. On the outer part of the dial are placed the trapezoid indices framed in rose gold tone. I doubt real gold is used here, but the indices are clean and are beautifully executed. A frame date window sits at 6 as not to disturb the symmetry of the dial. The hands eyes, which are also framed in the same gold rose, are equally beautifully made and a standout of the watch, especially that hour hand with that very beautiful design. All of this is covered by a piece of flat sapphire crystal with some pretty effective anti-reflective coating. The lume of this watch is absolutely amazing and a true standout. It is BGW9 almost everywhere, but for the hour hand, which is filled with C3 green lume. I am personally a lume addict, so this watch is just a pleasure for me to use at night or in a dark environment. The bezel insert is made out of ceramic with a beautiful orange brown at the bottom half that goes very well with the rich colors of this watch. But the most strange part of this watch and of this bezel is that 72 click bidirectional, not 24, not 48, 72. This doesn't hinder the watch in any way, and the clicks are positive and feel refined, so I'm okay with it, and it's an unexpected twist on a very classic complication of GMT watches. If our eyes dwell on the case, we can see some very sharp angles, yet everything is put together rather harmoniously. Part where you can see this aversion to the round shape is the crown guard, and this is continued in the lugs, but in a much more restrained fashion, as they angle downwards, hugging the wrist very well. The finishing is as good as can be expected at this price point, with the upper part of the lugs that are brushed, as are the sides of the watch, both parts being separated by a rather large polished chamfer. The counterpart of this chamfer is found separating the back of the lugs and the back side, and that is a nice detail there. The bracelet is an oyster style with brushed outer links and polished inner, and quick release, which is a big plus. The links and end links are solid and are held together by screws. All the elements of the clasp are solid, and you have an on-the-fly adjustment feature. I wanted to take some time to talk about this mechanism. For me, it is a flimsy part of an otherwise solid high-quality watch. I even managed to dislodge mine, and it was a pain to put back together by myself. So wise really have to look into that. However, if you leave it alone and don't mess with it as much as I did for the purpose of this video, it should be fine. Nonetheless, it is worth a mention. If you flip the watch, you can see the Miyota 9075 True GMT movement, another highlight of this watch, at least for me. Beating at 28,800 beats per hour, so 8 beats a second, this is a high beat movement when referring to Japanese movements. It has a power reserve of 42 hours, hacks, hand winds, but the most important part of this movement is the fact that it is a true GMT or traveler's GMT. For those who are wondering what that means, it means that instead of adjusting the GMT hand with the crown as in a classic color GMT, you directly adjust the hour hand. This is seen as a more practical way of doing it when you are changing time zones. One of the downsides is that there is no true quick adjustment date. It's only semi-quick, as the date changes every time the hour hand has moved 2 times around the dial. The cool thing is that you can change the date back and forth. That's the reason, to my understanding, why a true GMT is more complex and therefore more expensive than a color GMT. Mine is running quite okay, coming at around 5 seconds late per day in real life, but you can see much greater measurements on the time grapher when it is on the dial up position. Let's talk about the positives and the negatives. Let's start by the positives. I started this review by saying how beautiful this watch was, and that will be my first positive. From the sheen of that 904L steel, to the beauty of the sunburst charcoal dial, to the softness and contrast of the rose gold hands against it, this watch is a real looker. It feels like a high quality watch, from the use of that steel to the tactile feeling of the crown, of the movement, and of the bezel insert. This watch is a pleasure to use. Another positive is the lume, which is absolutely amazing, one of the best looms that I have seen on a watch. It is also a pleasure to have on the wrist, with those great dimensions, thin profile, and a case that hugs the wrist perfectly. If the bracelet had slimmed to 16mm, it would have been a little bit more refined, but I'm okay with it, as I believe they were going for the toolish look. It has tons of features, another positive, as has, of course, that true GMT functionality, that quick release bracelet, and of course that on-the-fly adjustment. And that on-the-fly adjustment will allow me to transition to the negatives. It's surprising that this clasp, although it feels well machined and solid, made it into this otherwise high quality watch. It is rather flimsy and you'll have trouble moving it and might end up displacing it, having to put everything back together like I had to do. Another negative is regarding the bracelets, first link, which are not really fluid, and that is the case on both sides. It is certainly because the quick release mechanism is attached to it, because all of the other links are fluid. Another negative is the warranty, which is only 1 year. 2 would have been a minimum here. So to conclude, we are going to try and answer the question that we asked in the intro: is this watch worth $720? If you're like me and you want a relatively affordable watch with a true GMT movement, let's compare it with the other options in the market. From the established brands like the Bulova Wilton GMT and Lip Nautic Ski GMT, well, they're less well made than this watch from what I can tell, and they're significantly more expensive. From the Microbrand sphere, Boulder and Zelos also have models using these movements that are similarly priced. With its beautiful looks, its use of 904L steel, and its multiple features, I do believe that we have a good deal on our hands and the price is coherent. And after using this watch as my main for several weeks, let me tell you that it is also a pleasure to wear and to look at. That's been it for the review. Thank you so much for following it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, and don't forget to check these other videos from great micro brands. If you want an option that is a little bit less expensive than this one, you can always go for the original models from Saint Martin. I will leave links of these reviews in here. Thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.